Today on the show, we are talking about a topic that I think is going to be key for parents, coaches, and athletic trainers. And we are talking about exhausted to energize with author Robyn Engelson. She is a book author and a fantastic resource for this topic and how we help parents, how we help coaches, all the different people that are exhausted from chasing their kids and their athletes around. She herself is a mother of a 16-year-old son, so she knows all about this. So, Robyn, super excited to have you here. Talk to us a little bit at first about your book, Exhausted to Energize. I think every parent and coach in their head is like, that's me. So talk to us a little bit kind of like what inspired that. I know you have it where it's 90 days to your better self. So talk to us a little bit about your book.
Absolutely. And first off, Amy, thank you for having me here on your podcast. I'm excited to add value and impact to your listeners. So, my best-selling book, Exhausted to Energize 90 Days to Your Best Self, is something that I went through and what I did to help train my mindset as a model of positive change years ago, and really just step into my authentic self by being who I was always meant to be. And it takes 30 days to change a habit, 90
Yeah.
days to change a lifestyle. So I can and will, through my book and coaching, be able to change who you are and how you show up in 90 days or less. And seriously, who isn't exhausted, right? I mean,
Right. For
especially
whatever
parents,
reason. Yeah.
athletes, right? And coaches and, all of these players and everyone is exhausted. However, most people won't admit it. They'll just keep going through the motions of their life, like they're punching in, punching out. Then their head hits the pillow and they're like, what the heck happened? Like, what
Mhm.
happened? About to fall asleep, but what happened today? And then to
Yep.
get to do it over and over and over again, it is physically and mentally exhausting. And now there is a solution for you.
I love it. I love it. And when we talk about parents of young athletes or youth athletes, coaches, athletic trainers, these are people that are constantly giving, give, because they're chasing their kids around, they're taking them places, they're supporting them, all the different things. So, as a mom, obviously, and then also as an author, like, why do you feel like it's so hard for those groups that we're talking about to really prioritize their own well being and kind of like self help themselves?
Absolutely. And I believe it's because they're people pleasers. And I was too, right? And when we people please, we give, and we don't know how to take for ourselves, right? And so we
Mhm.
want athletes to be performing at the highest level. We want our kids to be, out to school on time, to their practice, their snacks, their protein,
All the
their
things.
rest, everything that goes in that, right? The
Hmm.
trainer wants, to make sure they're training properly and, just one more this and that, and especially the coaches as well. And so we're always giving, right? But it has to be a give and take,
Yeah.
right? So we're all exhausted because we're giving, because we're pleasing other people, but we're not helping ourselves. And that is
Yeah.
the number one most important thing in order to continue to keep giving.
Yeah, 100%. Because if you yourself are depleted, how in the world are you going to give to your kids or be your best? I mean, you can keep giving. There's giving and there's being your best for people. And so I know parents desire to be their best, but if they're so exhausted, to your point. So, as someone who works with all different people, I know you work with parents, you work with high level executives, et cetera. What are some of the biggest mistakes that you see people make as they're trying to push through this crazy exhaustion that they're experiencing?
First, they're ignoring it. They're not admitting it. They have
Totally.
no awareness. That is
Yeah.
first and
It's
foremost,
true. So true.
right? Because without awareness, change will not happen
Yeah.
because you will have no idea what's going on.
Hmm.
So they have no idea the awareness. They're just plugging through, dragging through. They're thinking that if I just make it through this day, the next day is going to be different. But you know what? That's the definition of insanity. Trying
Cycle,
to
right?
do it
Yep.
over and
100%.
over again and
Hmm.
expecting a different result,
Yes.
which goes back to the awareness. So
Yep.
first, the awareness, just making it through the day, thinking that things are going to change when nothing changes, because nothing changes if nothing changes, right?
Right.
Thinking that, if I just get up earlier, or if I just, make the lunches the night before, or if I just do one more thing today, that's actually going to make you worse.
Yeah.
So those are a few things without overwhelming people. There's a lot of things, but I really truly believe, Amy, that it starts with awareness and the ability to want to change.
I totally agree with you. The whole thing I was doing a lot of stuff about habits at the beginning of the year with people and how you habit stack and how you change your habits and all those different things. When I think for a lot of parents specifically, maybe even more so than like coaches or athletic trainers, they often feel guilty if they're taking time for themselves. So if they already have a packed schedule and they're already doing a million things with no extra time, like how do you help someone take care of themselves, find a little bit of time for self-care, whether it's a bath or a girls' night or, for dad playing golf, whatever it is, I'm just picking things. How do you help them do something like that? Maybe not every single day or over a week, whatever it is, without feeling guilty or like they're sacrificing something and not giving enough to their kids.
Yes. And, as a mom, it's very clear, you do feel guilty.
Yeah.
But the reality is that self-care is not selfish, it's necessary. In order to continue to give to others and be present, you have to give to yourself. You have to
Yeah.
take care of yourself. And so I like to call them joy injections. And it's literally 5 minutes a day. That's it, right?
Yeah.
Then we can move on to the girls' night or the golf
Yeah.
out, whatnot, right? Because that's just a little bit more chunk of time, which the guilt can start feeling a little bit more intense. But if we
Right.
have 5 minutes a day for joy injections, whether that's sitting outside and putting your face in the sun, vitamin D does the body good,
Yes.
right? Whether it's 5 minutes to go for a walk, 5 minutes to take maybe an extra long bath, right? Instead of taking
Exactly.
a quick shower, maybe you jump in the bath for 5 minutes, slowly and carefully, of course.
Yeah.
Right? Right? But it's really just 5 minutes can really change the trajectory of your life. And what happens is that you're leaning in and you're giving to yourself. So you have more energy because your exhaustion is not depleted. And you have more energy in order to give and continue to give without feeling guilty. And then as you do that, you can build on that over time. So maybe 5 minutes turns into 10 minutes or two separate 5 minutes, right? And then 15 minutes, just keep increasing it slowly. And before you know it, you have a girls' night out or a guy's golf outing, and you're not feeling guilty because it energizes you. So when you come back to your kids or to your students or to the athletes, you are so much more energized
Yep.
than being depleted.
You're a better you. One of my good friends, she's a dietitian, and she always talks about nourish yourself with joy. And it makes so much sense because if you're so depleted, there's like we were talking about, there's no way to give back to anyone else. And I love that because it's really practical because so many people, what do you say when you tell them to like make a new habit, do something new? I don't have time. Don't have time. I don't have time. I don't have time. And so I think that that is a great way. And then building upon it, just like anything. So that is a really fantastic practical strategy. What would you tell a parent that's like trying to like take on something practical, but they don't even know where to find their energy anymore because they're so used to giving it away?
Absolutely. First, I want to share that for the 5 minute joy injections, right?
Mhm.
Set an alarm on your phone. It's
Yep.
non-negotiable. It's
So I tell
non-negotiable.
people about snacks.
Yes, you do, right?
Exactly. Yep.
And, and not being able to find the time is an excuse. And again, nothing changes if nothing changes. So set the time and priorities for yourself. And what happens over time, Amy, is that when you start to do this, you'll slowly see the changes. You won't see it overnight, but after 30 days, you have changed a habit. You're taking 5 minutes every single day. And then over next 60 days, 90 days, you're going to feel lighter. You're going to carry yourself differently. You're going to feel more confident because you've shifted your mindset and not even realized it, right? That's the beauty in 5 minute joy injections. The beauty in
Yeah, I
taking
love
time and
that.
leaning in for yourself is that you're going to become a better parent, a better coach, a better trainer, right? Because you can't just keep giving and going off of, an empty cup. You got to fill it up. And it all starts with you, right? As what you mentioned, you are first and foremost before anybody else. And then you can continue to give and you will see how it changes over time and you're going to feel so good.
I love that. Because it's self-care, it's joy, it's breathing a little bit, whatever that. And that's so different for different people, which I think is helpful.
Yes.
What fills up somebody does not. I
Mhm.
remember one of my good friends, she's a physical therapist and she loves to cook.
Mhm.
And I am a dietitian and I don't. And I remember I would talk, she lives in California, so she's a few hours before me. And I would talk to her and she'd be like leaving work at 7 p.m. California time. She's like, well, I'm going to run to the grocery store because I'm going to make lamb chops tonight. I'm like, lamb chop? What in the world? But that was her thing that filled her back up. Like, that's my nightmare. That was her thing. So I totally get where people are so different. And I think it's figuring out what works for you, figuring out what is that something that gives you that joy. Okay, so let's keep going with this, but also kind of pivot in. One of the things that make people exhausted are just stinking not getting enough sleep
Yes.
because they're burning the candle on both ends, to your point, up early, pack the bags, make the lunches. Plus, parents have to like work and do house chores and all the different things. So they sacrifice sleep, which obviously we know just in general can make you feel awful during the day. So how do you help parents, coaches too? I mean, when I worked in the NFL, oh my gosh, like coaches work until like 11 o'clock at night, every night, all through. I don't think people realize that. And lots of coaches are teachers at the high school level. They're coaches, they're putting it, and they have families too. And so when we talk about sleep, what are some of the things that you recommend for people in regards to maybe just habits around sleep and or how to improve their sleep quality so that when they do get whatever hours they get, they can maximize them?
Absolutely. You want to get into that REM sleep, like for sure. Otherwise, you're
Yeah,
not really going to wake up feeling good. You want to
right.
feel. So yeah, quick tip is that shut your phone off minimum 1 hour before you go to bed. I do too. I realized one wasn't enough, but I started with one because what it does is it shuts your brain off of every single task. Is like the hamster wheel going in your
Yeah,
head, right? Because if you're on your phone, you're working. Even if you're
yeah,
scrolling on
yeah,
silly stuff on Facebook, like you're still, your mind is still on a screen, right?
totally.
And so you just shut it off, turn it over, put it in another room where you can't reach it. Because the reality is everyone has a stop point in the day and everyone has a beginning point in the morning. And
Yeah.
just be clear to yourself on what that is and set boundaries.
I was about to say, it sounds like a good boundary
Boundaries.
right there.
Absolutely. And
Hmm.
what's going to happen is you're going to fall asleep faster, right? You're going to get into a better REM sleep and you're going to wake up feeling refreshed and energized instead of exhausted because your mind wasn't spinning for an hour on everything you have to do and your heart wasn't palpitating because you have anxiety, right? So
Yep.
turn off your phone, quick tip, and then maybe it's playing cards with your kids or game night or just talking, right, to your spouse or your,
I mean,
right?
imagine
Talking.
that. Yeah.
I know, right? So instead of texting from across
Ah,
the room, or maybe it's, even if you are like watching a movie, at least it's something that you're not on your screen scrolling or doing work. So it's relaxing for you because you have to relax your mind
mhm.
before you go to bed, right?
Yeah.
And I know that from experience because my mind used to race and race and race, and I would be up for an hour or two in bed and couldn't fall asleep, wake up exhausted, right? And that's how I went. Part of the way I went from exhausted to energized. Find your boundaries, stick to them. And then that little tip of turning off your phone, because we're all so attached to our phones
Yeah.
these days, right? And I get that, right? We work off our phone, we communicate through our phone, but there is a time where we get to put it down and then a time where we get to pick it up in the morning, and you will feel so much more energized.
I love that boundary around sleep. And I think you're already kind of talking about it. And you made the boundary earlier of like setting, a reminder on your phone or whatnot, because boundaries are key. And as it relates to helping people, as it relates to self-care, all the different things. Are there any, I know you do a lot of one-on-one coaching, any other tips that you have for like parents, coaches, athletic trainers around how they can set boundaries? Because if you haven't set them before,
It's really
it's
hard.
more challenging. And I think people feel guilty and then they're like, ooh, do I really stick to the boundary or should I go away from it? The boundaries are really what protect your energy. They are what kind of really protect your like well-being in general. So I'd love to hear any other tips you have as it relates to a variety of things in life about setting boundaries.
Absolutely. I think part of it is setting boundaries with positivity and negativity. So
Mhm.
many times we're influenced by negativity in society, with friends, with whomever we're around. But a boundary that I set years ago that I coach my clients on is no negativity. No negativity. It doesn't come in your energy vortex, right? You get to be positive. You get to talk positively. You don't talk negative. There's no negativity allowed, right?
Yeah.
And that's a shift. That's a mindset shift,
Yeah.
right? But that's a boundary that will enable you to intentionally be energized. Because think about it for a second, Amy, when you're negative and you're talking bad about people or life just isn't working for you and you feel depleted, right? Which is exhaustion,
100%.
right? And you're not sleeping well. But if you decide to surround yourself intentionally with positivity, with positive people, with I like positive affirmations, wake up in the
Yeah.
morning, look in the mirror, tell yourself three good things about you. I am love, I am happy, I am joy, right? Positivity, when you're getting your kids ready, there's no negativity in the house. And you'll see how that shift will trickle down to your kids, right? And for coaches and trainers, when they're positive as well, it just helps the athletes
Yeah.
so much, right? So I just really believe in that positive feedback and positivity, intentionally living positively really makes a huge difference. And that is setting boundaries. That is not hanging out with people that are negative, that are complaining,
Yep.
that are talking about people, right? That is just setting that boundary. And it is hard, right? But anything's hard until you try it, right? And if it were
Exactly.
easy, everyone would do it. But being
Something
able to
I
set
say often. Yes,
being
100%.
able to set that boundary, you'll feel that weight off your shoulders. You're going to feel good, setting that boundary, being positive, and you'll notice over 30 days how that habit has influenced you. And then 90 days, you have changed your life, right? The people you live with are going to be, sorry, the people that you are hanging out with and living with
And
in your
living with. Yeah, exactly.
life will be talking differently, right? The languaging that comes out. With
Yeah.
my son, for example, Amy, I believe in positive parenting and I raised him that way. And he speaks differently in certain situations than his peers because of
Oh,
that.
100%.
He calls me out on certain things sometimes when I'm not, when I'm falling back into my
Yep.
bad habits, right? And it really makes a huge difference on who you are, how you show up, and setting boundaries is key in living intentionally.
I love that. And you think about with parents and coaches, they're constantly reminding their athletes to do that. Like if they, whether
Yes.
they didn't play good or whether they lost a game, like you let them kind of have their moment and then you're like pivot out, like look at the positivity. What can you do? And so parents and coaches do that for other people.
Yes.
So I
Right.
think a lot of it is like turning the mirror and saying, okay, now you need to do that for yourself. And the mindset shifts, as you were talking about, I think is key because I was in a group last night and we were talking about just intentionality of like everything you do. You have to be intentional about being positive. You have to be intentional about boundaries. You really have to be intentional to protect your peace, to protect your well-being. And I think when we talk about exhausted to energize, most people are exhausted because they've just found themselves on the hamster wheel of all the
Absolutely.
things. And I would love any other thoughts that you have about like as you think about those mindset shifts as you're going from exhausted to energized. You've already talked about a lot of them with boundaries and like making a decision and being intentional, but sometimes it's difficult for people to really
Yes, of
move
course.
that. And so doing it day after day after day, like you said, once you do it long enough, it becomes normal, just like going to the
Yeah,
gym, just like eating healthier. I
totally,
mean, it's obviously
totally.
a habit.
It absolutely is. And Amy, I know for the parents and the athletes and the trainers, I like to have an accountability tracker. Literally,
Yeah.
it could be a piece of paper so you visually see it. But
Mhm.
it's just that one thing you're going to do, right? Just start off with one thing. You don't need 10 things because that's unattainable. One thing you're going to do. And then have the days go Sunday through Saturday, however you start your week, Monday through Sunday. And as you do it each day, check it off
Yeah.
because the brain
Love that.
registers progress, right? The brain registers progress. Just like when you're training, you know that when you got that last rep you've been working so hard for, you feel amazing. There's like an endorphin rush,
Yeah.
right? So the same thing's going to happen when you change your habit off the field.
Yep.
The same thing's going to happen. And then once you've mastered it for a week, add one more.
Yep. I always tell people pick the easiest one first too.
Yes,
Like I'm
totally.
like, pick the thing
Totally.
that seems the easiest so that you can like do it and find success. And
Yes,
then your mind, to your point, your
yes,
brain is like, check mark, I did it,
yes.
success. And that like really, I think, powers the next positive change that you're gonna
It
make.
absolutely does. I always believe in wins, like checking off the wins and being
Mhm.
intentional with that. But the
Mhm.
brain registers those wins. And when you're winning, you're feeling good,
Yeah,
right? And then
totally.
the easiest one is kind of like a no-brainer, but why aren't you doing it? because it's been hard for so long, but you get to change your habit
Yep.
and seeing it and visually seeing it, it's huge. And also celebrate those successes, right? Don't
Mhm.
wait for
Yeah.
90 days to be a different
Right.
person. Right?
Right.
Every week after you're doing or every day, celebrate that. Take a moment and acknowledge yourself and share it with others.
Yep.
Share what you're doing because that's the difference. And sometimes you don't even need to share, Amy. People are going to notice, like you're different. What's
Exactly.
different about you, right? Your attitude's different. You're doing different hobbies or whatever. You're taking time for yourself.
Mhm.
Like, yeah, self-care. It's important.
Exactly.
I leaned into you.
Exactly.
It's amazing.
Well, what I think is great is while we're talking more towards the parent and the coach and the athletic trainer, the strength coach, whoever that is, the caregiver, these things that we're talking about apply to athletes as well, helping them set boundaries, helping them sleep better at night, helping them. I mean, all the things that we're talking about, I think can be a transferable skill
Sure.
to those youth athletes as well, so that hopefully they're able to manage exhausted to energized because they're oftentimes just as tired, not just mentally, but also physically, obviously from school and training. So as I was listening to you, I'm like, wow, this really just transcends all of the
Does.
groups that we're talking about.
Absolutely does. It absolutely does. And you can apply it to whomever you are, right? However
Yeah.
you identify yourself as, right? And
Yep.
whatever group or bucket or whatnot, or just as yourself.
Yep.
And absolutely transferable. And you're going to see the difference. Here's the thing with the athletes too. You're going to see the difference with your training. When you lean into
Yeah.
yourself, your performance is going to skyrocket in
Yep.
90 days. You're going to be a different person on that field. 100%. And your coaches and your trainers are going to notice that. And then you become the leader because of your confidence,
Yep.
what you've been doing for the other players. That,
Exactly.
that's the legacy right there, what you're doing.
Yeah, I love that. And for parents and coaches, I would tell you, model it. Just like I tell them with nutrition, like model good behaviors. Like don't tell your kids, coaches and and parents, don't tell your kids one thing and then do the polar opposite, or tell them
Right?
to do one thing and then go buy something that's totally polar opposite of what you told them to do. So I think this is a good reminder to help parents. And obviously, no one's going to be fantastic at it every day, but I always tell people, similar to any other habit, just get up, do it again tomorrow. You didn't waste the whole day. Like change your mindset midday shift.
I love, and every day is day one. Every day is
Exactly.
day one. You get to
Exactly.
choose how you show up and what you do and how you change. It's always up to you. So just lean into you and know that what you're doing, it's the right thing. It's okay. Everyone
Yeah.
doesn't, you don't get to where people don't get to where they are because they were doing the same thing and didn't change, right?
Right. Exactly.
Learn from your
Yeah.
failures, learn from your success, and you will arrive exactly where you're supposed to be.
I love it. So, okay, as we close this out, you've given some really practical tips about setting boundaries, putting alarms on your phone, the 5 minute joy injections, which I love. That is just, I just love that concept in general. But okay, so say someone is like, I relate to exhausted right now, and I
Mhm.
hear what you're saying, and those all sound good. But what's my first best next step? Like, what would be the first thing, and because we said a lot of things that they should do, where have you found when you work with your clients and coach people that I know it's different for everyone, but what's like the next step that people should probably take to really start refueling themselves?
Yeah, so I know you asked for one, Amy, but I got two real
Okay,
quick
we
ones.
can take two. We can take two,
Okay,
and then you can
perfect.
pick and choose which one.
Okay, perfect. So the first thing is wake up intentionally, look yourself in the mirror and do your IAMs. You have to build your confidence. You have to believe in yourself in order to
Mhm.
change. And you get to determine what you say. I am beautiful. I am joy. I am happy. I am whatever it is. You don't have to be there yet. You have to be going there.
Yes, love that.
Right? So that's number one. I would do that first. Secondly, drink water. I know that sounds funny, but drink water. Carry a water bottle around and just sip
Wow.
5 sips every hour because most people are dehydrated. And I know you
Yeah.
talk a lot about nutrition with
Yeah.
Amy, but you don't really realize it. So just sipping on a water bottle throughout the day, the water will increase your energy, your mental capacity, you'll feel better. So that's another tip I would add. So those two things to start, you don't know where to start, look in the mirror and
Yep.
tell yourself your affirmations and how great you are and where you're going, and or drink water.
I love it. Yeah. A lot of people don't realize that a lot of the fatigue that they feel is associated with
Yes.
being dehydrated, both athletes and adults. They're not
Yes.
they just don't correlate those two things together. And it is, to your point, it is so, so, so important. And I love the concept of starting at the beginning of the day, because how you start the beginning of your day is often the trajectory in which your
Yes.
day is going to go. So if you're starting it with the positive affirmations or whatever that is for you, like that's usually, at least you're setting yourself in the right direction. The world will try to derail you, your life, your, kids, whoever it is. But I definitely think setting the tone from the beginning is ultimately what helps someone move from exhausted to energized. So I've loved talking about this topic. I feel like probably we could cap it off at 100% of parents and coaches feel like this at some level at some point. Maybe not every single day, but all the time. So talk to everyone about where they can find you, both on social media, where they can purchase your book, and any other places you would like to send them.
Absolutely. So I'm on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram at Robyn Engelson. That's Robyn with a Y and then Engelson. And you can buy my book on my website and Amazon. My website is robynengelson.com. And on Amazon, just search for Exhausted to Energized. It'll pop right up. There is a digital version as well as a paperback. So whichever version you like or both would be great. And I also want to request that you reach out to me. Don't be a stranger, right? Let me know that you got my book. Let me know that you're changing, what you're doing, what action are you taking. I'm here to help support you in every step of the way. I've been there, done that, and I know how to help you. So I'm excited for you.
I love it. Thank you so much for coming on the show today. We will drop all of your contact information, your website, where to find your book, Instagram, all the things in the show notes so that people can click right there to find you. But thank you so much. I'm super excited to help people move from exhausted to energized, because that's ultimately where you're going to find your best self.
Absolutely, 100%. Thank you so much, Amy.
Yeah, Robyn, thanks so much for coming on today.
Welcome.